Thank you for having me today. I would like to start my Dharma talk by reading the lyrics of the Ondok-sang, the Gatha Ondok-sang, in praise of benevolence. Please join me in Gasho. Such is the benevolence of the Tathagata's great compassion that I must strive to repay it even if my body turns to dust. Such is the benevolence of the masters and true teachers that I will thank them until my bones have crumbled. Namandavats, Namandavats, Namandavats. So today we observed the Higan service, and as it was explained in the beginning of this service, so Higan service occurs twice a year around the spring and fall equinox. So this word Higan is an abbreviation of To Higan, which literally meaning to reach the other shore. And in Buddhism, this world of suffering is referred to as this shore, and the world of enlightenment is called the other shore, the world of Buddha. And reaching to the other shore can mean to contemplate on the other shore of Buddha. So Jodo Shinshu or Shin Buddhism is said to be the teaching of compassion. And you can find the word compassion in all sorts of Shin Buddhist texts, scriptures, and sutras as well. But there seems to be a gap between compassion as we generally understand it and compassion as it is understood in Shin Buddhism. So today I would like to talk about the differences. So first, let me define the word compassion in general. So according to a dictionary, compassion comes from two words, cum and passion. So cum, C-O-M, is a Latin word meaning with. Passion comes from the Latin word passus, related to the English noun patient, and means one who is suffering. So compassion means to suffer together with. It is a strong feeling of sympathy and sadness for others' suffering and the desire to help them. Next, let me give you the definition of compassion in Shin Buddhism, or you can say Buddhism. The word compassion in Shin Buddhism is usually explained as the combination of two aspects, Maitri and Karuna. Maitri in Sanskrit word is unconditional friendship towards others and the desire to give them comfort and to ease their heart. Next, Karuna in Sanskrit originally meant mourning and referred to someone who is mourning from suffering or pain. That is, Karuna is an innate desire to help someone in pain or who is suffering. So, compassion in both Shin Buddhism and in general refers to the feeling of sympathy that is the desire to help those who are suffering and to ease their hearts. However, the difference in general and the Shin Buddhist understanding of compassion lies in its profundity, that is, its depth. Compassion in Shin Buddhism is much deeper than compassion as generally understood. Uh, Speaking of our compassion can be inconsistent, quick to change into another emotion depending upon our mood, and often fails to respond to large-scale human suffering. For example, there are now 65.3 million people displaced from their homes worldwide, the United Nations report. So it's an all-time high, likely the largest population of refugees in human history. So when you think about that number, 65.3 million, it can be difficult to imagine. When we see like, one life, we can imagine their hopes and pain, but 65 million, it's difficult. You can't. That's just an abstraction. Therefore, there's a hard limit to human compassion. Our compassion is also based on rational morality and ethics, which involves our judgments. Conversely, compassion, as spoken in Shin Buddhism, is unlimited and goes beyond rational morality. So, what would this mean? To make this point clear, let me tell you a story about parental love. So compassion in general is often compared to how parents feel about their children. Parents wish the best for their children. Will take them to the park even when they are busy. Will take them to the hospital in the middle of the night and do everything else. But they do even more. So there's a story called Old People Mountains. I believe many of you might know the story. In Japanese, it is called Ubasuteyama. Once upon a time, there was a village where they had to abandon elderly people up in the mountains to cut down the number of mouths they had to feed. To follow this regulation, a man went up to the mountains to abandon his elderly mother. He carried his mother on his back and followed the path up to the mountains. As he walked, he noticed his mother breaking twigs off the trees and throwing them on the ground. The man thought, is she creating a path so that she can track it back down to the village? I'm not going to let that happen. Otherwise, I'm going to be in big trouble. After they arrived at the top of the mountain, the man put down his mother on the ground and told her not to ever come down from the mountains. His mother only gently nodded her head to what she was told. When the man was about to leave, his mother said, "You are so deep into the mountains, but I have laid twigs on the ground from the village so that you will not get lost. Follow them, and you can safely return home. Be careful on your way back, my son." Seeing his mother's gentle face, wishing his well being, the man suddenly burst into tears. He said, "What a terrible thing I have done to you. I not only tried to abandon you, but also doubted you." The man knelt on the ground and apologized sincerely, then lifted his mother on his back and walked his way back home. So, the point of this story is that the mother did not forgive the son when he apologized and took her back home, but from the very beginning, which is why she broke the twigs. So, from the point of view of the mother, her compassion towards her son would have been the same even if he had left her to die at the top of the mountains. Such profound compassion is like that of a Buddha. A Buddha is someone who can care more about others than oneself under any circumstances. Someone who would not judge others but embrace them regardless of what they have done and how terrible it was. Someone who is beyond hatred, anger, and aversion. In our sense, when we see an unforgivable crime, we would often feel hateful and disgusting about the offenders. For example, like the sad incident, at Georgia. If you could imagine people discriminating against others, or abandoning their child, or taking away someone's life, we deeply feel sorry for the victims, but often not for the offenders. We will even think that the offenders deserve a punishment. And the more the crime becomes severe, we think the heavier the punishment should be. However, compassion of a Buddha not only goes towards the victims, but also the offenders. It also embraces those we think of as bad, evil, wicked, or indifferent, and will say, I'm sorry that you had to do such a thing. Compassion of a Buddha sees how the offenders were all once an innocent child like everyone else who had no desire to commit such a crime, and that through the many conditions in the aging process made that person capable of committing crimes. Those offenders did not wish to become such a person, but somehow they became so. As Shinran Shonin, the founder of Shin Buddhism, says in the Tanisho, when the karmic condition opportune, we are capable of doing anything. No one wants to harm others or kill others, but when we are in the right circumstances, we might not be able to control ourselves. Therefore, from the view of profound compassion of a Buddha, the life of the offender is as valuable as the victim's life. There is never judgment. Of course, this does not mean that you can just go on and commit a crime. That is an immature and childish thought. In society, if you commit a crime, then you will be punished under the law that we call justice. And that is how society works. However, even though the offenders are judged, the higher level of compassion will never judge, but embrace them no matter what. This is the depth of compassion in Shin Buddhism, which goes deeper than our rational morality and ethics. In this regard, in the Contemplation Sutra, it is stated, the Buddha's mind is great compassion. It embraces sentient beings with unconditional benevolence. Moreover, in the largest sutra, it states, without being asked to do so, Buddha becomes a good friend to each of the multitude of beings and carries their heavy karmic burdens for them. Shinran Shonin reveres such Buddha as Amida Buddha, or Amida Tathagata, the Buddha of infinite life and infinite light. The light representing wisdom and life representing compassion. And Shinran Shonin says in the Tanisho, Amida's primal vow does not discriminate between the young and old, good and evil. True and trusting alone is essential. The reason is that the vow is directed to the person burdened with the weight of karmic evil and burning with the flames of blind desires. That is to say, the profound compassion of Amida Buddha accepts us just as we are. Shinran had the expression that the infinite envelopes the finite, which means that our limited compassion is always surrounded by and supported by the unlimited compassion. Therefore, even though the compassion I practice is small, I'm not discouraged. Even though the compassion I practice is inconsistent, I'm not discouraged. Even though I am capable of a limited form of compassion, I'm not discouraged. The nature of humanity is that we seek to improve ourselves, evolve ourselves. We strive to be a better person and a more compassionate person. However, more often than not, we struggle over the gap between the ideal and reality. However, we do not need to be discouraged because we can rely on the great wisdom and profound compassion of Amida Buddha regardless of our limitations. We can securely accept our true reality because we know that we are supported by a world that never rejects us and never abandons us. I would like to conclude my Dharma talk with reading the Ondoksang again. Please join me in Gassho. Such is the benevolence of the Tathagata's great compassion that I must strive to repay it, even if my body turns to dust. Such is the benevolence of the masters and true teachers that I will thank them until my bones have crumbled. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.